Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon Shaman.
The so-called QAnon Shaman.
QAnon Shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment?
The QAnon Shaman is the poster child for January 6th, and today he was sentenced to 3.5 years in federal prison for his role in helping to lead the riot at the U.S. Capitol.
The Department of Justice called the self-proclaimed QAnon Shaman the flag bearer of January 6th. The judge adding he, quote, made himself the very image of the riot. Jacob Chansley was the first person indicted by the Department of Justice for crimes January 6th, and today he was sentenced to 41 months, or about 3.5 years in prison, for felony obstruction of justice.
He sought to be accountable. He was and has been held accountable.
Prosecutors say Chansley was one of the first 30 people to break into the Capitol building wearing those horns, painted face, and wielding a spear, all the while urging on other rioters with a bullhorn. There were those unforgettable images of Chansley on the Senate dais and the chilling note he left for Vice President Mike Pence, writing, quote, it's only a matter of time, justice is coming. In a rambling 30-minute speech to the judge before sentencing, the QAnon Shaman asked for leniency, blaming childhood trauma and a lifetime of untreated mental illness for his actions. Chansley also compared himself to Gandhi and Jesus when explaining why he was taking responsibility for his actions by pleading guilty to the obstruction charge, adding, quote, I'm guilty of this crime, but I'm not a dangerous criminal. Judge Royce Lamberth called Chansley's remarks, quote, the most remarkable I have heard in my 34 years on the bench, adding he believed Chansley was genuinely remorseful, but called what he did on January 6th horrific. The 41-month sentence the judge handed down is on the low end of federal sentencing guidelines for Chansley's felony charge. Prosecutors asked for 51 months behind bars.